All right, so again, so let's pretend that you've got 9 slices of one long piece of cake. So what this means is, again, you have 5 ninths. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that's 5 ninths. And you're going to add to it 2 ninths, right? 1, 2. And so what it really ends up doing is you're really just adding the 5 and the 2 to make 7 ninths, right? That's what ends up happening here on this problem, right? And that's we like fractions. Again, you didn't have to write this down, but we like fractions because they have the same denominator, which means all we have to really worry about is the numerator. That's what we're talking about. So that's what we're talking about, adding, subtracting like fractions today. So let's get started. So let's start with adding. We'll start simple and we'll get more complicated, all right? So let's start with 1 here. How about 1/3 plus 2/3? 1/3 plus 2/3. All right, so hopefully you know how to do this one. If not, we'll go over it really quick. So here we go. If I have the same denominator, then all I have to worry about is the numerator. So that's really just 1 plus 2 divided by 3. Now, 3 over 3 is good, but better than that, 3 over 3 is 1 whole, right? That's a big thing today, is the idea of simplifying, to making sure that if you have something that we can simplify and make more simple, then do that. Make it more simple, right? Let's try another one. Let's make it a little harder. Negative 3 over 5 plus negative 1 over 5. Okay. Now notice the negative sign's in the middle, but it really applies to the number on top. Okay. So you can think of this as a negative 3 and this as a negative 1. All right. Go ahead and add those. Put in the chat once you think you got it. Thank you. Again, go ahead and put in the chat once you think you got it. Negative 3/5 plus a negative 1/5. Okay, very good, very good. Thank you, those who put in the chat. You're looking good so far. All right, so we end up with negative 3 plus negative 1. Again, the negative belongs to the 3 and belongs to the 1, okay? All over 5. Negative 3 plus negative 1 is negative 4. Yeah? Okay, make sure you keep your negative signs. I think sometimes people get confused, right? Again, remember, when you're adding, subtracting, that's not the same as multiplying. So it's not negative and negative make a positive. This is 3 ninjas, and 1 more ninja makes 4 more ninjas. All right? All right, let's try one more here. Negative 3 over 7 plus 1 over 7. What do you get there? All right, thank you. Thank you for those putting in the chat. Thank you. Go ahead and put in the chat once you got it. All right. Now, this one could be a little bit tricky. So again, what this basically is you have to remember from chapter 3 when we did all the integers, the adding, subtracting. The numerator is what matters there. And that's so it's basically doing the same thing. It's just now we have a denominator of 7. So we know the 7s are fine. We got negative 3 plus 1 over 7. Now, some people might think, isn't that 4? Negative 3 and 1. But remember, they're opposite signs, right? 1 is negative, 1's positive. So if you think about it from like a number line perspective, right? Here's negative 3. Here's negative 3, and then I add 1, so then I go here, and I end up at negative 2. Don't forget, it's a fraction. Negative 2 over 7. So negative 4 over 7 is kind of the trap answer there. Make sure you are doing that right, just like we did integers back in chapter 3, which was last week. Okay. So that's adding like fractions. Again, making sure that you are adding correctly, especially when there's negatives. When there are negative numbers there, remember, you got to do your keeps, not keeps with change yet. We're going to do that in a second, but you have to make sure you do. The question is who wins and how by how much, right? So just like we did on chapter 3. All right, let's move on. Subtracting like fractions. Here's where it gets a little more interesting. All right. What if I had a problem that looks like this? 5 over 8 minus 7 over 8. 5 over 8 minus 7 over 8. Go ahead and give this one a shot. All right, got a couple answers in the chat. Let's see if we can get some more. All right, I'm getting a couple different answers. Let's go. Let's keep trying it. I want to see some other people. I want to see what other people think, and we'll go over it. So far, I've got 3/4, 1/4, 2/8, negative 2/8. Got a lot of different answers. Anyone else want to try? Okay, here we go. So first of all, I might do a keep switch change here. I might say, okay, look, I've got subtraction. Let's change that to 5 over 8 plus a negative 7 over 8. So I really got 5 plus negative 7 over 8. Okay, I did my keep switch change, right? So you can see that. Keep switch change. Okay, so keep switch change changes to 5 plus negative 7. So now that shows me, okay, well, who wins? Negative. By how much? 2. Now, if you stop there, okay, you're not all the way done. It's not correct. You need to simplify. You need to simplify your fraction. What do we mean by simplify? Remember, simplify means make something as simple as possible. So the lowest number possible. I know this one is not simplified because 2 and 8 are both even. So I know there's a number that goes into both. I need to simplify. What number goes into both negative 2 and positive 8? Well, they're both even, so the number 2 goes in. Divide by 2 and 2. So here we go. Negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So my final answer is actually negative 1 over 4. So there's two things here. There's two things that make things difficult, right? One is simplifying, okay, making sure that you simplify, okay? And the other thing is the negative. Sometimes people forget about the negative. They do all the work and they forget that the answer should be negative. So remember, you got to keep your negative all the way through there. So I got some answers. I got 2/8. I got negative 2/8, right? Some people give me 1/4, negative 1/4. Some people give me something else. So we got to be really careful. There's a lot of different ways we can go wrong on this problem. So we got to be a little bit more careful and make sure you're looking out for your negatives and you're looking out to simplify. Right? Let's try another one here. Negative 6 over 9 minus 2 over 9. Okay, go for it. Negative 6 over 9 minus 2 over 9. All right. Again, be careful for your two things. Remember, simplify and negatives. Negatives and simplify. Make sure we got it right. And we're doing subtraction, so I might think about keep switch change. Maybe that's a good idea. All right, got a few answers in the chat. Let's see if I can get a few more. Good job, good job. So far, if you've answered in the chat, good job. All right, let's get a few more responses here. Let's see. Let's make sure we're doing this one right. Again, it's a little bit tricky. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is keep switch change. Negative 6/9 plus a negative 2/9. Oh, some of you are thinking, right? Oops. So if you gave me 4/9, you just did 6 minus 2. But it's actually negative 6 plus a negative 2, right? Oh, yeah, right? Keeps with change for our subtraction. That's what we just did in chapter 3. Okay, negative 2 plus negative 6 plus negative 2 is negative 8/9. Can I simplify? No. So that's it. That would be all. Negative 8/9. There's nothing that goes in both 8 and 9. So there's your final answer. All right, let's try another one. So you can see how these could be a little bit tricky. Okay, the adding ones, you're like, oh, no problem. Remember, when we throw in negative numbers, everything gets just a little bit trickier. We just need to practice until we get used to it. All right, how about this one? Let's see. Negative 5/8 minus a negative 1/8. All right, give that one a try. Remember two things, guys. Remember the two things. Simplify and negatives. Negatives and simplify. All right, starting to get some good answers in there in the chat. Good job. Give you guys a few more seconds. All right, let's see. Keep switch change, right? We have subtraction. So I'm going to do keep switch change. So negative 5/8 keep. Switch. Change. All right. Negative 5 plus positive 1 is negative 4/8. Now, this is what some people were giving me initially, this answer. But remember, we have to simplify, right? We always got to do our simplification step. So we're going to divide by 2/2. I'll do color, right? And I end up with, oh, actually, sorry, not 2. Let's do 4 instead. 4 would be better. Negative 1/2. Now, if I accidentally did 2 instead of, I would end up with 2/4, which means I'd have to simplify again to get to 1/2, right? If the numbers are both even, you can divide by 2 top and bottom. So the big thing here, okay, is, again, remember simplifying and remember your negative sign if you need it, right? The other thing is for subtraction, use our keep switch change, right? That's the same problem that we had when we were doing our adding and subtracting with regular numbers instead of fractions. So it's very similar to what we're doing with fractions, what we do with integers. It's just now you're doing it with fractions, a denominator. And then the next lesson, we're going to have an unlike denominator, which we're going to have to shift around a little bit. Okay. Okay. So again, let's take a look. Let's review, right? When we're adding, we can just add, no problem, right? Make sure that we keep our negatives and watch out for our keeps with changes, okay? Sorry, just for subtraction, watch out for our keeps with changes, and then make sure, again, simplify and your negatives. Biggest thing, simplify your fraction, watch out for your negatives, okay? Today, most of your homework are just going to be problems kind of just like this. All right, sound good? All right, hope that's good to go. So watch out for those two things.